Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to Artichokedip. My name is Rob, solo tabletop gamer, and my last table talk that I did, which this be another table talk video here. So grab a hot beverage, coffee, tea, energy drink, or maybe a can of soda or whatever you're drinking, and pull it on up and let's sit down and have a chit chat. So, before I get into the video, if you like this video, click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. Follow every time I upload a new video, you will get a notification so you don't miss one. So, here it is, Sunday evening. I had just recently uploaded another video of my solo playthrough that's going pretty well. And it's kind of what I wanted to touch base on. I wanted to talk about what I like about 5th edition and things that I'm noticing that, I don't know, just don't seem very, how do I put this? Lacking imagination, if you will. I guess that's the best way I can say it. So I'm going to get into the things that I like, because so I had a bit of RPG systems in a very short period of time. And for a good example here, this is all 3rd edition right here. My friend Eric gifted me his book collection, which I have integrated into the 3rd edition. It goes back to the other side with another row of books behind it that are all literally 3rd edition. And you can see how the dang shelving units, you know, buckling from underneath it, and then below it I have all my 1st and basic and a sliver of 4th edition, and my now working on my 2nd edition, and then below that I have kind of a mixture of 3rd 3.5, if you will. PathFinder is what I'm referring to as 3.5. And then Adventures in MiddleEarth, which is a really, really good one. One I have to get back into right here. And I'll talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to go over that and kind of explain to you, some of you guys out there, because I do want to play this. I do want to get back into this again. I just haven't decided how I want to do that yet, so more for that to come. 5th edition, some of the things that I think really, really did improve on D&D, particularly for solo play. The healing, the rest. For the soloist, that's, I have to admit, that is the most, and I'll use the right word. I'm going to say it's the one system that I've used so far that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. The fact that you take your hit die, you roll that, and you at that point recover that many hit points for a 1 hour or a short rest, or if you take a long rest, which is actually your character at that point would get a restful night's sleep, they recover 1 hit die, which is, and the thing that I do like about it, at lower levels, it's not really too much of a concern, if you will, because, well, you may have 1 or 2, or let's say your 3rd level, like my characters are coming up on, so you got 3 hit die, but as you get up in levels, granted you are going to gain more hit points, but as you get up there, and you start using these hit die for these recoveries or short rest, it's at that point you really are going to have to plan ahead for your character's downtime and adventure time, which opens up a lot more avenues, if you will, for your story and for your adventure, particularly interaction with NPCs and so on. I like that. That was, if you ask me, that was a really, really cool thing that they did add in there. And I like that system. Proficiencies, I agree with. I like, and I'm glad to see, because as I've played solo, I've always used my abilities, and I've always rolled against my abilities. And you can look back through some of my older videos, and you'll see how I use that. So for me, when it came out, I was just like, you know, well, yeah, I mean, that's common sense to me. I mean, that's why else are your, I mean, what is the purpose of rolling up ability scores and logging those on your sheet if throughout gameplay you're never going to reference back to them? I mean, at that point you should be playing a game that's just has a character template. One I haven't played yet. I picked it up, and I'm just finding I'm having a hard time really getting my teeth into it, and that is, gosh dang it, Forbidden Lands. With the you know, the characters are very templated, and I think to get into it and sit down and mess around with it a little bit. There's just other things I'm wanting to play with right now. That so as far as that goes, I think that's going to be a little bit later on down the road. My favorite being Halloween, which is going to be in a couple months, a couple of weeks. And Thanksgiving, nice long weekend, and then of course the holidays are going to fall on a Friday, which is going to be I don't know for a lot of you, but I know for our my place of employment, so I'm going to have some time to actually put into those. I have a feeling up here in Michigan this year, we're going to see a very, very, as they refer to it, in winter, which means a real brutal winter. Probably a lot of snow and very, very brutally cold. But time will tell on that, and we'll see how that works out. So, with that in mind, sometimes I get off the beaten track there. I have to admit, for solo play, 5th edition is so far, man, I'll tell you what, it's a really good edition for the soloist. I know a lot of people out there enjoy older editions. They like the basic or first basic fantasy. It's, my opinion, it's based in a 3rd edition, is what it is. It's like melding 3rd edition mechanics with basic edition game setting, and it's good. It's good for solo play. When I first started this channel out, that's what I talked about a lot. But then as time moved on and find some of the things that I use, I found that I wanted to use other systems, and from that point on, moved on. Now, let me just get this right out of the way, because I know a lot of people like other RPG systems. I think my favorite game will always be Dungeons and Dragons, and I think a lot of that stems from, and it's, a lot of people will say, oh, it's because it's so commercial, it's because it's in your face everywhere, well, that's true, it is. I mean, you can't go to Walmart or Meijer or Target and walk in and find a Palladium fantasy book on their shelf, or a RuneQuest book, or MiddleEarth role-playing game book on the shelf, because they don't engage with that. Whereas and behind that is the fact that Wizards of the Coast. So Hasbro's got a lot of money. They got, and I mean, you think about it, they're in every single retail supply chain across the country and the world. So they tentacles stretch pretty far, which is the reason why that is. But for the soloist, you're just getting into this, whether you're a veteran player or you're new. And if you're new, you have that daunting task of not only learning the system, right? Learning the rules, learning all this stuff. You're doing this by yourself. And on top of that, you have that nagging question in the back of your head all the time. Am I doing this right? Is this right? Is this the way it's supposed to be done? That's where the simplicity of 5th edition makes it so appealing and easy to use, not only for the veteran player, but also for beginners just getting into it, because the rules are simple. It's the way that they have condensed the ruling system and using it is pretty much anybody can pick it up and read it and go. Now, with D&D, it is a cookie cutout system. It is very commercialized. It is what it is. Are there other RPG systems out there that offer worlds and more character creation, character development, and all that? Absolutely. I encourage any of you out. I mean, Kevin has just a huge catalog of just all these different settings that you can get lost. Whether Rifts is a good one. I mean, Rifts, that's the one RPG system. I mean, it literally, any setting you can imagine, you can use in Rifts. It's there. It's all there. The way that the story is written up, the way the Rift opens up, all these different worlds at that point cross over, intermingle, if you will. Very, the way it's presented is very smart, very witty, and it just paves the way for an endless amount of stories and adventure landscape, if you will. The thing about Palladium, though, is Palladium is a very simple. Once you learn the basic rule system of Palladium, the game mechanics, it's the same for all of Palladium's products from there on out. There's some rule variation changes, sure, but any RPG system that you do play in, you're going to find that. Even with D&D, there's going to be certain camps that you may get into to where there are prestige characters that are only available to that particular setting. And so that is just a given. It is just an absolute given. So those are some of the things I just wanted to touch on, give my thoughts on it. And as I said, I'm making these video series, I'm like, okay, sooner or later it's going to end. I mean, it's either my characters are all going to be dead, or it's just going to keep going. How long is it going to go? How long will the kindness keep going? How long are my viewers out there going to, like, okay, man, we get the point, let's do something else. So that's the purpose of these videos. The reason why I make these videos is to interact with you guys, to get some feedback on it. And that's why I'm always asking my videos, hey, if you like this video, click the like button, because that's how I gauge if you like the content or not. If you don't, I don't know. I mean, it's not like I can crawl through the internet and, come to your screen and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, what did you like about this? Anyways. So, I have been on the fence about this because it is 5th edition. And I kind of wanted to if you will, explore out of 5th edition maybe a little bit and try a different game system. But one I did want to get back into. I had started let's set my coffee down here. I had started an adventure with it, and it was pretty interesting. It felt, man, I have to admit, game systems that I have played, MiddleEarth role-playing and all that. Well, MiddleEarth role-playing is, it says it gives you a unique MiddleEarth experience. To me, it kind of felt hollow, if you will. But that's just me. That's my personal opinion. But I have to admit, this one right here, Adventures in Middle-earth, and I think I have just... there's the main core rulebook. This one right here. So I had picked up this first and went through it, and I like how the character creation works, how you have to pick a background, and you have, if you want to look at it this way, a virtue and a vice is the best way I can explain it to you. And it's not the way it's written in here. They call it the shadow, if you will. And what that is, as your characters move through this world, I guess I should back up a little bit further. So, where this takes place, and the time frame it takes place, is just like Amazon series that's due to come out here spring of 2021, Lord of the Rings. In between when Frodo finds the Ring of Power, but before the Lord of the Rings, that time is where this RPG system takes place. And in it, you have the influence of Sauron over the land, which is called the Shadow. And each character and as you roleplay through in certain events at that point, you can become corrupt by the shadow or the darkness. It's really, man, it's cool. I mean, it feels like Middle-earth. Now, I had picked this up first and went through it, and then I had found this, and it was like, it was the first printing, and I'm going to show you here the reason why I put it back in the shelf. I mean, I haven't even opened up the dice, I just left them sealed, which is the One Ring. And I wanted this, and I found this on eBay, and it was a comic book store that was selling it. It was still in the original cellophane. It's like, yeah, I'll take that. And I had received it, and I sat down, and I started, and it didn't take too long for me to realize that what is in Adventures in Middle-earth. The only difference is the Adventures in Middle-earth, it's the same game system, is set up for 5th edition. So you have, with D&D, as you know, you have a lot more room to be able to explore and add on, if you will. But the one thing I had noticed about this book, as I was going through it, was the fact that was starting to come apart. There we go. You can see it right there. And everything is starting to, well, just like before the pages loosen up and they rip out of the book. So it was at that point that I decided to say, okay, I'm just going to close this up and put it back in the sleeve. Not only is it the same game setting, same studio that made this one, which is Cubicle 7, is who made Junction and with Wizards of the Coast to make this one. And if I can find that, I remember I seen that I'm just going to use this. I can't find the exact same. I remember seeing it in one of the other books that I have. But if you look at the art of this, as a matter of fact, the same people, because it even says on the back of this book, Cubicle 7, the artwork's even the same. They even had the same artist do the art on this as well, which is really, really cool. A little bit of background as I read into it, the original, I don't know what the original artist, when Peter Jackson went in to make the Lord of the Rings, and they went to New Zealand and they were sitting down and they were drawing how to help get an idea of how they wanted to bring that to life on film. Some of these artists in these books, they felt as if it would be, well, it would give it more of the feel of Middle-earth, which it does. But I have to admit, so that's one avenue I would like to explore. So how do I, my question, I guess, is, would that be a video series that you would be interested in seeing, or would that be like one of those things to where it would be like, okay, if you did the Temple of Elemental Evil, that's 5th, that's, this, let's move on and do something else. I can totally understand that. So I haven't, Adventures in the Middle-earth right now. And like I said, I just kind of wanted to see Temple of the Elemental Evil to its end. And who knows how that's going to end, or figure something else out in the future for that video series. But don't worry, I'm not going to stop making them, as a matter of fact. If you check, you probably already got the notification. If you're subscribed, you see it's already slated in for Friday, October 30th. So no worries there. But as I look over at my game shelf and I look at all the different games I have, RuneQuest is one that I think would be cool to get back here. Is another one. Palladium. I've been talking about Palladium quite a bit lately. And Wheels of Time, I know, is one. That's going to be later on. Research on that, learn a little bit more about the world. EverQuest, I think I'm going to do a one-off, too certain yet. I might keep that as a surprise. We'll have to see how that works out. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out there and talk about that. One other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and see how you guys feel about this, my solo play. I really do. I enjoy my solo RPGs. I enjoy the solo board games. I guess the biggest thing, the reason why I enjoy it so much is I'm given freedom to take my world in whichever direction I want to go, and I like the fact that I can sit back and with one dice roll how the story just evolve, if you will. You've seen that in my my games that I've uploaded so far. You've seen how things seem like they're going good, and then one dice roll, it's all downhill. So the thing I've been looking at lately, and so I want to kind of get some of your feelings on this, and you know, don't hesitate to drop me a line, leave it in the comments if you will, and that's virtual tabletop role playing. Now, as far as tokens go and up the maps and that, I'm not talking about that. I mean, there's today's day and age and technology have and all that. You can make some pretty good 3D maps. Me personally, I just always will like miniatures, and I probably, when I'm years old and senile, I'll probably still be using miniatures. But that's just me. But the one thing I've noticed that, oh man, it's like sacrilege to the tabletop RPG. The thing about the tabletop RPG, when you first get into it, and it doesn't matter what game it's the percentage system where you're using 2 10-siders, a silhouetted system which is going to use all D6, or a D20 system which is going to use your 7 polyhedral dice set. There's something, it's like a rite of passage of whether you acquire it by ordering it online and going through a catalog and looking at it and seeing a dice set that spoke to you, or maybe it's going to a game shop. Like for me, I have some dice set that they're old, they're from way back, and I still use today. But the thing about it is there's something that's gratifying with the fact of being able to pick up them dice in your hand and shake them and roll them out into the table or your dice tray or whatever it is you're using, that connects you from the physical world that you're in to that world that you created. It's a physical, and with when you get down to the virtual dice roll, it's like all connection has been just removed. And for me, I have a very hard time with that. I'm like, it just doesn't, it seems like that element has been taken away from it. The fact that you can look at your dice and say, haha, you know, you might have that D6 that might have a chip out of the corner. It may not be shiny, it might be dull and old, and the numbers are all but worn off, but it never lets you down. It always rolls high, and it always pulls through you every single time. And the same could be said about any of your other dice. Perhaps you got a 20-sider in there that may have had a defect from the factory, maybe a color swirl or something to it that just sets it apart from the rest of your 20-siders, but it's like your old trusty 20-sider. You always can count on it for that saving throw, or when it's down to the wire and you have to roll that die, you have to get that roll, because and you find, well, that's the dice that always does that for you. And with virtual, you don't have that. You don't have it. You have a pixelated on your screen that you're like, okay. And I have an issue with that. I have a big issue with that, and I can't do it. I just cannot do it. Man, that's the one deal breaker I would have to say with virtual tabletop games. That would be a deal breaker playing virtual, is having to use a virtual die rather than being able to roll my own die. Because then it would feel like to me that there is a huge disconnect between the imaginative and the physical world, the world which I live in, and the world in which my characters live in, and that bridge has been taken away. My personal thought on it. I don't know how you guys feel out there. Let me know. Let me know. Tell me if you feel the same, or perhaps maybe you'd like the virtual better than the old school dice. I don't know. I know for me, I'm just old school, and I don't think that'll ever change. And rightfully so. Why not? You know. But I have to say, looking towards the future, I have been doing some research on virtual tabletop platforms recently. I'll leave it at that. I don't really want to add into it, but yeah, it's going to be in the future when I'm ready to talk about this a little bit more. I'll talk about it at that time, but just right now I'm starting to look into it. I'm looking at it, and yeah, when that time comes around, I'll let you fine folks know. So, well, I can say the end of the month. So, Halloween being my favorite holiday of the year, I mean of all of them, and it doesn't have to do with the fact that candy and all the stuff, you know, all the stuff for kids is cool for the kids. For me, Halloween's a little bit different. Halloween represents that time of year where the seasons have changed, things have, you feel almost a completion. The summer's over, and it's like that time of year as we all get older, particularly if you live further north, like where I'm at, you're no longer having to worry about the lawn, mowing the lawn, and doing chores, where you have a little bit more time now to yourself, and you can just be like, break. It represents that. And the weather, the fact that me enjoying, well, the gaming that I enjoy and being a horror movie buff and enjoying all that is when some of the best horror movies come out. And, well, exception of this year. So this year, you know, I doubt you're going to see a whole lot of any really good new scare flicks this year, but you know, it is what it is. There's so much out there now, and I like the older classics anyways. That something about Vincent Price. He, if you ask me, he was the king of the B-rate horror movie. It was just great. I think one of my favorite movies of all time that was Masquerade of the Red Death, which is really good. If you've never seen it, normally they play it around Halloween. I encourage you to give it a chance. Sit down and watch it. Don't want to spoil it for you, but it's a very, very, very good movie. It really is. And even for its time, in my opinion, in its time, it was way ahead of its time. But joke. Things just are not going to be the same this year. or maybe years afterwards, after this, everything, you know, this global pandemic and all that other stuff that's going on. So I decided to cash in a vacation day and take the 30th off and make a nice long weekend out of it. And I decided at that point to do something really special for you guys. See that coming. Now, unless, you know, I wake up that morning and, I don't know, the house is on fire, aliens have landed and taken over the entire, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, unless there's like some huge catastrophe that has to be addressed like now, that's going to basically involve, and yeah, should have that day freed up to get some gaming done. And I'm thinking of something special I want to do. But, my friend, that's where I'm going to leave this video off. And so I would like to hear some of your, you know, your comments. I like, you know, do you like the video series I'm doing? Would you like to see more 5th edition, maybe older editions, maybe a different game system? This edition ends, or maybe something with Adventures in MiddleEarth. I guess we'll see that for a while and review the comments, and we'll tally them up and we'll see how it goes. Alright, my friends, this is Artichokedip signing off, and don't remember one bit of advice that I can give you. The secret to a happy life and great gaming is caffeination, my friends. Proper caffeination. Oh yeah. Alright guys, this is Artichokedip signing off.